Today we're going to talk about softeners. There's all these different versions of softeners, but softeners are basically a way of making a statement or a question less aggressive. And less aggressive usually just means less direct. Basically, being too direct in English is considered rude. So let's look at one way to avoid doing that. Negative questions. I'm going to discuss two types of negative questions in this clip. The first is actually a form of an invitation, and the second is actually a suggestion or a piece of advice. Starting with, won't you? Imagine that a friend of mine stops by to borrow a dress for a wedding that she's attending. Here's the scene. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Of course, no problem. Hey, won't you come in for a few minutes? Won't you come in? It's a funny way of inviting somebody in, isn't it? If I were to ask a normal positive question, I would say something like, will you come in for a few minutes? Essentially, by beginning with the negative, won't you, I'm not only inviting you in, but I'm also expressing the assumption that I'm expecting you to come in. Basically, it's like saying, of course you'll come in, won't you? Now, in order to respond, you have to counter my invitation / assumption by either taking the lead and agreeing, sure, of course I'll come in for a few minutes. Or you have to refuse my invitation and deny my assumption, usually by offering some sort of an excuse. No, I'm so sorry, but I just don't have much time. Let's look for another opportunity, okay? Okay, let's back up or rewind quickly because it's a little bit confusing to know how to answer, won't you come in? Do I say, no, I won't? Or, yes, it's true, I won't come in? Honestly, rather than thinking of this as a question, it might be easier to think of it as an invitation. So, won't you come in means, please come in. And your response could be, yeah, okay, for a few minutes, why not? Or you have to reject the invitation by saying, I'm sorry, but I haven't got much time today. Let's schedule for another day soon. So basically, to respond to won't you, you can say thank you and yes, or thank you and no. Okay, so won't you is an example of a negative question that serves as an invitation. Now let's move on to shouldn't and couldn't, which rather than invitations are more like suggestions or a way of giving advice. For example, this is going on longer than we expected. Shouldn't we just take a break and let everyone get some lunch? Basically, I'm saying we should take a break, shouldn't we? And you can respond the same way that you would respond to a suggestion or a tip. Great, thanks, that's a good idea. Let's take a break and come back after lunch. Let's say around 2 o'clock. Or you could reject the advice by saying, that's true, this is taking longer than expected, but I only need 5 more minutes. Please just bear with me a bit longer and then everyone can go. One more example. Imagine we've been driving around for 15 minutes looking for a parking spot and there is nothing. You might make a suggestion such as, couldn't we just park in the underground lot even though we'll have to pay? My response could be, sure, great, let's do that. Or, that's a good suggestion, but this car is too tall for the underground lot, so we're just going to have to keep looking, unfortunately. Again, when you're using couldn't or shouldn't, these are forms of suggestions or giving advice. All right, that's it for negative questions. I'll give you a few more examples on the screen. Make sure that you practice them out loud and maybe add them to your notebook so that you can practice them again later. Won't you sit down? Thank you, I will. Oh, thanks, but I really must be going. Won't you stay for dinner? I would love that, thank you. Thanks, but really, I must be on my way. It's really hot in here. Couldn't we just close the windows and use the air conditioning? Oh, sure, of course. I'm sorry, but air conditioning makes me sick. Do you think you can hold on a little bit longer? We're almost there. Shouldn't we offer a few more examples? That's a great suggestion. Yes, let's. I don't know. I think that's enough for today. Okay, guys. I think that's enough for today. I'll see you tomorrow.